Hi again, folks. Tuck Hidden Values here. I hope you are all getting ready for a great 4th of July celebration, whether you're in your own backyard in one of our more locked down areas or with a little more elbow room. And I hope that you will stay calm and safe and enjoy yourselves. It is Friday, the 3rd of July, and this is the 15th day of our 16-day Liberty Vigil. We have been on since Juneteenth, and we'll be ending tomorrow with our Independence Day. I will still be putting up videos, but we'll be shifting gears a little bit into some things we can do to take action in defense of our republic. So for today, we're going to look at our Independence Day menu: spiciness and heartburn. There are so many things that make up the 4th of July and our celebrations. We spend time with our friends and family. Usually we set off fireworks. Sometimes we go to parades. Hopefully we take some time to reflect on the legacy we've been left in our republic, if we can keep it. And of course we have really fun food. I don't know what's on your 4th of July menu. I'm curious to hear what people are preparing. I have been celebrating 4th of July for just over 50 years now, and I have done that all around the world on Air Force bases and in the surrounding communities, and now in civilian rural areas. I've done it in university settings and towns. So I've been in other countries and in the Great Lakes region and around the Midwest and on the East Coast and in the Rockies. And pretty much wherever I am, I've typically had kind of the traditional summer cookout fare, especially when I was growing up, right? We had burgers or hot dogs on the grill, corn on the cob, baked beans, potato salad, watermelon, 3-bean salad, which I don't like very well. Jello salad, which I'm also not crazy about, but fruit and Cool Whip, always at least 3 desserts with Cool Whip, ice cream, beer for the grown-ups. And that was always kind of what I grew up with. You might notice there's nothing really spicy in that list. It's all it's yummy food, savory, but pretty mild. I am in a family that has a very high openness to experience. So on a regular day, we'd be very inclined to eat spicy things. We were fans of bulgogi or chorizo tacos or kimchi or spicy barbecue pizza or Szechuan shrimp or all kinds of odd things that I like and my parents always really liked. But 4th of July was not really when we would eat them. So I don't associate spicy food with 4th of July. However, in my adult life, I've started to branch out a little bit. And I think that's happening for a lot of people as we have a broader and broader range of options of traditions in our 4th of July celebration. I know I've had tangy marinated chicken on the grill, or started making pasta salad with kind of spicy peppers in it, or I've seen people put exotic tropical mangoes or pomegranate into fruit salad, or people have sangria instead of just beer, hot salsa with chips, or Chicago dogs with everything on them, which is great. Sometimes now, in the last few years, people started putting sriracha sauce on burgers. So there's all kinds of things that we have done to branch out. We're getting spicy and adding variety to our celebrations, just like we are welcoming and embracing variety in our culture. And they say it's the spice of life. It absolutely is. And it's good that we're able to welcome those kinds of new things into our celebrations and into the cultural grammar of our country as well. I've noticed after a few videos on YouTube last year and having some technical issues that I had to kind of take a hiatus from that, and then coming back into it this summer, kind of spending more time checking out a wider range of creators on YouTube. A lot of folks out here in YouTube using the term spicy, especially younger content creators, to refer to spicy memes, spicy stories, spicy comments. And as I've been listening to that and hearing them talk, I've sort of been trying to pin down what the sense is of that term. And I think that it sort of depends on its usage and on the context. That sometimes it seems almost to have a suggestive sense, like a sexual sense about it, but most of the time it just tends to refer to something provocative and sometimes something controversial, something that's not really politically correct and something that might raise an eyebrow. And it's interesting and appropriate that as we're adding spiciness to the food in our 4th of July celebrations, we're also using the same kind of language to talk about the things that we have to address in our culture and work around in creative ways in our culture. Even as as we're sitting here in our 4th of July celebration, and a lot of people are still confined or largely spending time at home. So a lot of our life is an online life, recognizing the difficulty of controversy that's in our world and in our public discourse. And there's a lot of pain and fear and anger swirling around in our culture as we have a lot of struggle and chaos in our country and around the world. But we're sitting here this weekend celebrating an event that was spicy from the very beginning, the very first time that we were celebrating. So I went back and looked at the actual core of the celebration, which of course is the actual text of the Declaration of our Independence. You listen to it, the little part of it, and you tell me if this first part doesn't sound provocative to you. When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. Needless to say, that provoked over a decade of angst and difficulty before there was finally a settling on a constitutional arrangement for our country. But if we go on to the next paragraph, we hit things that are even more controversial because they're not just the provocative ideas of one group of people separating from another, but the actual philosophy, the actual ideas that caused them to come to the conclusion that separation was necessary. So they dive headlong into the controversy. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Needless to say, that was a whole pile of really brand new ideas, and it didn't go over very well in a lot of quarters. It still doesn't go over very well in a lot of quarters. And the chain of events that set in motion, as I said, lasted over a decade, and it culminated ultimately in the Constitutional Convention. When that ended, the delegates came out from it, and the stories told of a woman who shouted to them in the street, asking them what form of government they had decided upon for the American citizenry. And Ben Franklin shouted back to this woman, "A republic, ma'am, if you can keep it." Which, actually, as I was reflecting on the different shades of meaning in the word spicy, I thought that might be the only tie-in to the sexually suggestive aspect of the word spicy, because Ben Franklin was well known to be a really prolific womanizer. So I couldn't really think of another connection there. So you be the judge. The trouble is that spiciness in any of these forms, whether it's provocative or controversial or whatever, is not for everybody. It wasn't for everybody then. And it isn't now. It's why it caused such a rift and such a division and so much difficulty, so much heartburn in the colonies, and it's why we're having such struggle today. At that first Independence Day, the conflict intensified after this declaration, and there were many years between the Declaration and the Constitutional Convention that established the final form of that new system. During that time, the conflict was costly, bloody, terrifying, and exhausting. It seems now to me that we're entering again into a period in which we're called upon to reestablish our constitutional republic because it has suffered harm over the last really 100 years. We have to fight, as generations of earlier Americans have done, for the identity and character of our country. It's going to get even spicier around here before it calms down. Old and hardened ulcers are going to flare up. Hot spots of ambition may react unpredictably to the fight, and tender sensitivities will be singed. Our best course of action is going to be to feed our effort from one of those A and B menus. I don't know if this still happens in authentic Chinese restaurants now in America, but when I was a kid, you would go in, and if you went in, especially with a big group of you, you'd count the people in your group, and then based on the number of folks in the group, you'd be able to order kind of a family style meal, right? And there'd be 2 columns on the menu, and it would say, you can, if you have this many people, you order this many dishes from column A and this many dishes from column B, and then you could share. And so, and they would be different, right? They'd be kind of a different kinds of food in column A and column B. And so that's what we're going to need to do here. We're going to need to think about what our republic needs for good food in 2 different categories. Okay? We're going to need to feed ourselves from traditional fare, some of which is long abandoned, and we're going to need to make sure that we include the spicy new additions, some of which are long overdue. So on the A side, the traditional fare menu, number 1 is going to be choosing a constitutional republic over a long-term surreptitious but recently turned open anarcho-statist operation. Number 2 is choosing openness over manipulation, invitation over coercion, and deference over violence. Number 3 is choosing true patriotism over a revisionist utopian fantasy. In the B column, we have the spicy additions. And our long overdue spicy additions are the need to acknowledge skin color but recognize character. Number 2 is the need to treasure our respective cultures of origin but honor our shared principles. And number 3 is the need to uplift the wisdom of what is tried and true, but also explore the creativity of what is inspired and innovative. The trick to this menu is, it doesn't matter how many people are in the party, and we're not choosing, right? We don't get to say, oh, well, I want this one from this column and these 2, or these 2 and none from over here. If our republic's going to survive, we have to commit to doing all 3 of those things from both sides of the menu. If we don't feed ourselves in a complete and balanced way from that menu, and if we don't share with our country the opportunity to consume all of those things in a balanced way, we will not be able to keep the republic that Ben Franklin and the other founders entrusted to us at the very beginning of this country. So the question really is that what we want to do? Do we really want to continue on in the path that they set for us and integrate the things that we've learned, or do we want to overturn and begin again with whatever outcomes that might create and that history might have shown us? And I think that's really what we're considering as we go forward. So I would ask all of you to think about those things, those particular items, and write to me with questions and comments and opinions. We will stay in touch, and I would want you to enjoy your 4th of July holiday weekend. I will have one more day of the vigil, and then I will tell you a little bit more tomorrow about the plan going forward. As always, if you appreciate this content, hit the like button and subscribe and share so that our conversation can grow and expand. And we will talk more about action steps going forward. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful 4th of July Independence Day holiday. Take care.